Hey, what's going on? It's Keith here with Stephen Fox as usual. Foxy, how's everything with you?
Miss you, my friend. All is good. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Salute to the SV Nation. We're going to be talking about New York Knicks basketball.
Yeah, it definitely has been a while, but it feels good to be back here in the co-host chair with you, Foxy, talking about the Knicks. A lot has gone on since we last went live. The Knicks recently they made a trade, moved Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks over to Detroit, but that was just a buildup of what we saw during the draft, where the Knicks made a whole bunch of moves in order to free up some cap space and send Duran and not moving up for Ivy and allowing him to stay with the Pistons. So we're going to talk about the most recent trades, see what the Knicks are trying to do, and try to make sense of it all. Foxy, you know, have you been thinking about what this grand scheme is supposed to be? Because I'm honestly a little bit confused as to what the
Yeah,
plan
I
is.
was about to say I've been thinking, but I've been smelling smoke because
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell they're doing. I absolutely wanted them to make a couple of draft choices, and I understand that they want to make this move for Jalen, and rightly so. But I still think they should have had a first round draft choice, and so I'm looking to see the moves. Hopefully, we'll get into it about Mitch and a few other things for this roster reconstruction. But it's weird, Keith. We're like 3.5 years in with this front office, and I still have no feel for them, what they're going to do. So hopefully, like we said, we'll get into Jalen in a second and everything else. But I'm in the dark about what the hell they're doing.
yeah.
I
It
know what
seems
I
like
hope they would do.
they really changed the plan every offseason. When they first came here, it looked like they wanted to draft Obi, bring Obi in, and then move off of Randall. But then Julius Randall had that phenomenal season in year one with the new regime, and they decided to pivot, extend him, and went with more vets, signed those vets, and now another offseason has gone by or has come upon us. And now we're moving off of pretty much all those deals. They traded Kimber during the draft. They traded Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel like thieves in the night yesterday. I'm appreciative of what they did back. What year was it? 1920
What?
or was it 2021? The year we went to the playoffs
Yeah,
against the Hawks. I
you
always
said
forget the
1920. That's what threw me off. 2020. Yeah,
All right, there we go. Well, no, because you know how the NBA seasons are. They
yeah,
overlap. That
yeah.
always throws me off. So what was it, 2021?
Yeah, 2020, 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm appreciative of what they were able to do for us that season, but it just didn't work out. Nerlens Noel was never healthy. Alec Burks was pretty much a roadblock to some of these young guys. So for us to move off of him and Nerlens Noel, I think is exciting to me because now I think it'll open up some playing time for some of the young guys. But the fact that they're deciding to make this move in order to free up cap space and kind of blow the bag on Brunson is where I start to be a little bit hesitant because you start to look at some of the numbers, which we'll get into. I don't know if he's going to be worth some of the numbers that have been tossed around, and that to me has me extremely worried. And Connor, he just sent something. He said Hawks got Murray. What a disgrace! You add the fact that Murray has also been linked to this team, and you really have me confused as to what is the front office trying to do? What is the goal? What is the plan? Are we hitting a full reset and just trying to bring in a bunch of young assets and get rid of the vets? Or are we trying to build around Jalen Brunson and turn this team into a contender overnight? To me, I haven't heard from the front office because they refuse to speak to us. So now all we have to do is assume, and the information that they're giving us, it's just all over the place, honestly.
It is all over the place. But we know that a player like Brunson, you have to pay a tax for that. We talked about it. He's one of only 6 players to average 15 plus points, 4 plus assists, and over 1 3-pointer while shooting about 50% from the floor. And the only people in the league, folks, is Jokic, Giannis, Drew Holiday, KD, and LeBron that did that. He's a sniper. We're 30th in the league from 2 point. He's a 2 point mid range sniper. He could really shoot, and we'll get into it. But and you and I were talking today off camera about Fred Van Vliet. That there, I think, a similarity and the monies that they're going to do an extension. You and I laugh like, wow, his contract's already up. I thought he just
Yeah.
signed that, but a 4-year, $110 million contract is, and we know Ujiri. Everybody respects him. So that 4 million, a 4-year, 110 million, I think is the ballpark of a Brunson. And when you and I looked at the numbers of a Van Vliet and a Brunson, they were the same player. Actually, Brunson's a better shooter. He shoots 50% from the field goal percentage, and Van Vliet is 40%. They shoot. He's a little better 3-point shooter too. So, meaning Brunson. So, and he plays a little over 6 minutes more per game, Van Vliet, than Brunson this past season. So, that's the price. And I think that from a stabilizing force, I think he'll bring stability in that position. Yep, you're like saying he's not fancy, he's not sexy, but we looked at the defensive numbers today. His defensive numbers are a lot better than people think. And so I'm hoping that if it turns out, I hope our hearts are not broken. I see that it just came off that he's having a meeting with the Heat, Brunson.
Mm.
But I don't think that they can sign a contract with Kyle Lowry a year ago and now come back at the same position. So I think that's just posturing, but you never know. Somebody swoop in with our Knicks. We've seen it at the last second. Hey, we're going to sign KD. We're going to sign Kyrie. And what happened? We got Randall. We got Randall as the consolation.
Got most of the players we ended up trading recently. Burks,
I know.
Noel,
yeah, and that was crazy because you and I talked about our medical staff. I don't know how either Kemba and/or Nerlens ever passed a physical, or for them to even give them contracts in the first place. So at least those guys are away. And one of the things, if this Jalen Brunson thing comes to fruition, is that now we have a logjam at the point guard position. So is it time for D Rose to move on? We have IQ. We want to give him an opportunity. We have Deuce. We want to give him an opportunity. We have the rights to Rokas. So there's a whole lot going on there, man.
Yeah, I think for me, you mentioned it in terms of Brunson and his performance and how he plays. He's a solid point guard option. What makes me hesitant about it is just the price, and just to look at some of what the media has been saying as opposed to or in regards to what it'll cost to bring in Brunson. There's been a couple things floated around. This one is by Fred Katz. I'm going to just read it real quick. It says the Brunson number that's been bouncing around the league for a few days now is 110 million over 4 seasons, which ordinarily would call for a starting salary a shade above 25 million. So right there, you're looking at paying a Jalen Brunson 25 mil. And if you look at Brunson and you try to build this team up and you want to build a contending team or a championship contending team, is Jalen Brunson the starting point guard on that type of squad? And if you're going to pay somebody 20 in excess of 25 million, that's a starting salary in the league. We were looking at the season last year with Evan Fournier. It was a big debate. Should Evan Fournier be moved to the bench? Should he remain as the starter? And one of the big sticking points was that salary. And that was only 17 million. So you're talking about an additional 8 to 10 mil. And pretty much we are just going to say Jalen Brunson is our starting point guard from now into the future. And we're just going to have to deal with it and continue to build around him. And I'm not sure if Jalen Brunson is that type of guy. I believe he'll be a solid piece, a solid contributor, but to sit here and say that he's going to be the type of guy that can help carry this team to a championship, I'm not there. I'm fine with Jalen Brunson being brought onto this team as a piece, but as the starting point guard for the next 4 years, I'm not there just yet. I'm still going to have to see it to believe it, especially when you see that this front office has shown that they really don't know what they're doing. So it's hard for me right now to give or to put faith in them.
Well, there's no nepotism. It's not like his father was hired. Wait a minute. It's not like Leon Rose's son is his. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff in the background. So I don't know what's going on. But I love Villanova players. He's Villanova tough. With his dad, I love that somebody grew up, from a pedigree standpoint. He understands the business. He's serious. Reggie Bullock put out a thing today saying that, he deserves everything. He's such a hard worker and is even a better person off the court than he is on the court. So he's a quality guy. We always talk about culture, especially you, me, and the SV Nation. Shout out to the chat that everybody talked about what we went through last year with Randall, and hopefully we don't have to go through that again this year. Either he found God or we'll trade him, one or the other. but at least this is a really quality person coming onto the team, and also versus some of the other guys that we talked in the past, the De'Aaron Foxes, etc. They're very high usage for a point guard. So if we want RJ and a few others, Brunson is the type of, his usage number allows other guys, to eat. And maybe that'll make other guys happy. But he's a real professional. And unfortunately today you got to pay that tax. And like I said, Van Vliet, that's the same monies that they're paying Van Vliet, and they're similar players. And Van Vliet's 28. He's 3 years older. So I feel comfortable with this contract. If it ever comes to fruition.
Yeah. If you look at it in comparison to the rest of the league, I would say it's a reasonable enough contract if Jalen Brunson can continue to build off of the performance we saw from him in the playoffs. You look at some other point guards that are close in terms of average annual salary would be Terry Rozier, who makes 24 mil. You've got Mike Conley, he makes 22.6. Malcolm Brogdon makes 21.2. And then just a little bit above what we're hearing being quoted for Jalen Brunson's contract, you've got Kyle Lowry, who's making 28.3. So you look at some of the names there, and if Jalen Brunson can continue to perform like he has in the playoffs most recently, then I think you can justify it somewhat. But there are some other aspects of this contract negotiations that kind of make me nervous. If you look at the excerpt to the right, it says it could. This is Katz talking about the Knicks. It says we could use all of the 29.4 million in cap room to offer him as a starting salary, then add a max of 5% raises each ensuing year. That offer would come out to approximately $126 million over 4 years. And I don't know if I'd be willing to go that far. If this is what it really takes to bring Brunson to New York, I would not go and do that, because we still have Julius Randle on this team. He's making a similar deal, making a similar amount of money. So now to invest that much money in a Jalen Brunson and a Julius Randle, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I'm 100% sure that's not the nucleus that's going to take this team to a NBA Finals and to a championship. So for us to go that far in trying to bring him and court him, I think that would be a major mistake, and that would probably put us in cap hell.
I'm with you. And also just taking a step back, that if we do sign him, and even with positive thoughts, but if we look at him being a core of our future, Brunson, RJ, and let's say we sign Mitch, is that three compete with other teams, the big three of other, elite teams. And I don't think it is. I think we'll be a good team, but I see a playoff team, but I don't see a championship caliber team.
That's a fact. So Foxy, just want to jump into the chat real quick, give a few shout outs. It's been a while since we were able to chop it up with everybody. So we want to make sure we get to you. Let's see. John Talento says, salute Keys. Foxy, was good chat. John, thank you for pulling up. Let's see. We've got Craig Mack says, no name. No, his name is Tornado Randall. That wasn't even on purpose. New Yorker says Brunson is smart, low turnover. Let's see. Prezi the Boss says, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Prezi. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the support. Know we've been away for a while, but we already have 91 in chat. So thank you guys. I appreciate the support. Also, a few of you guys reached out to me behind the scenes on both Instagram and in the comment section just to check up on me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Let's see. Anybody you want to point out, Foxy?
Yeah, I see my friend Heck from Yanks Morning Brew, folks. 11 a.m. If you're a Yankees fan, please. Knights of Dejan. Heck is a wonderful, good friend of mine. Please check it in. It's a great show. Like you said, our friend John Talento, Illmatics, again, a good old friend, still Dre, Carlos Delgado, PayPal 718, Keith Turner, again, a really, really good guy. we'll get back to, Zhejian, and you mentioned Connor earlier, so we'll touch base with a lot of our family. I think I saw Geraldine, my friend
Yep,
from the
Geraldine.
Bronx. There's not a show where Geraldine's not on our mind. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Max. Salute to Geraldine. Now let's jump into. Go ahead, Foxy. What you want to
No,
say?
my last thing is folks, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that all remind the bell so you don't miss out on any of the great content that comes from Sports Vibe TV and my friend Keese. Do me a favor, folks. We worked so hard last year, and especially my guy Keese. We're a blink away from 6,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, if you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell a friend, and if you haven't, please hit that subscriber button. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Foxy. Appreciate you. So let's jump right into the actual numbers because I did a little bit of math and just a rough estimate. I did a whole bunch of rounding, so bear with me just to kind of get a better view as to what these contracts could look like when we decide to sign or extend them to um, Jalen Brunson. So if you look at it, if we were going the ascending route and we started with the salary of 25 million that Fred Katz had mentioned in his article, you would start at 25, then you would jump to 26.3, 27.6, then 28.9 in the last year of the deal, and that total will give you 107.8, which is around that 110 figure. And you can see it's the same thing with the descending. And me personally, if I had to make a choice between the two, I would go with the descending. I'd pay a little bit more now, but as you start to see some of these young guys blossom and get better, you're going to expect us to have to give them the bag as well. So if we have Jalen Brunson on a descending deal where his cap hit, it continues to decrease, it'll give us a little bit more flexibility. So for me, I can stomach giving him, a little bit more right now, knowing that we aren't going to be immediate contenders. And then, in 2023, 2024, 2025, maybe we can, bring in some more help and have a little bit more flexibility that way.
I'm with you all the way. That's a great strategy on the descending, and I'm also with our pal John Talento. I like Brunson, and I'm willing to pay a tax, but I'm not willing to pay a crazy tax. So if it gets to a number, it's like, what? Sometimes walk away. Earlier a few weeks ago on the draft and stuff, I was perfectly okay saying, "Hey, folks, this year I have no problem with IQ as our starting." Guard D Rose, we need a veteran presence. D Rose will be there, and you have Deuce that a lot of people have forgot. But Deuce, folks, you saw it up close and personal up in Bridgeport. He killed in the G League. I know that he would have dominated in college this year, and he would have been a top 20 pick, Deuce. So he's a number one pick, and we haven't, like I said, mentioned Rokas. So I had no problem going, being an experimental and going with IQ. He's gotten better every year. He's a student, as we've seen. So I was hoping, I had no problem saying, okay, let's go that way. But I really wanted us to draft some other guys, especially at that small forward. We've been talking about 6'8" and 7'1" wingspan on defense and other things. I wanted Tari Eason in the worst way.
Yeah, where did he end up going? The Rockets, right?
Rockets.
Yeah,
What
Rockets
a
had a
draft
great draft.
What a
Great
draft.
draft.
Jabari, Tari, and Tai Tai. I
At
like Tai
29.
Tai. Exactly. I don't like Tai Tai at 11, but at 29, he's a steal. He has one of the best mid-range games in the whole draft. So they killed. So I was looking, we have Cam at 6'8", 7'1" wingspan. And did I say Cam yet? That's it, folks. We're really, we have a logjam at the point guard. We have a lot of shooting guards, and we brought in this kid Keels. I had no idea why the hell they did that. People are talking about him, but the way I study the draft and stuff like that. Looks like a great kid, but I would have never drafted him. He's not athletic. He doesn't have a first step, doesn't have lift, doesn't have any explosion. And it's like, why do we need a guy like that that's 6'4" with a 6'7" wingspan?
And not a
IQ
knockdown shooter.
Exactly. IQ has a better. There are other guys, and not only that, there were really Alondis Williams was undrafted, a 6'4" point guard, the best passer in the draft. the Nets signed him as an undrafted free agent. So it's like we signed John Montero from Dominican Republic who can't shoot. He's tiny, and he's probably the most non-Tibbs player that was in this whole draft, and that's who we sign as a undrafted free agent. Like you said, this front office, it's like if you're in sync with Tibbs, they get Tibbs as kind of players. When I was going through the draft, it was like every player was an all defensive player in their conference. So I'm like, as we saw with Grimes, Tibbs will open his eye to a rookie if they play crazy defense. And, so I don't know what's going on in the communication between those getting the players that they want, but obviously Brunson would be a Tibbs player. His shot selection, his finishing in the paint, he's absolutely a Tibbs player.
Yeah, Silvery Gray agrees with you. He was really hoping we got Easton as well.
Oh, he's 5 steal, combination of steal blocks per game, third best box minus in the nation. Just a savage on defense, and I love and like we talked about, since Oakley and Mace, we haven't had an enforcer, a tough guy. Oh, I thought Terry, and a guy, let RJ. So in my perfect world, if this thing goes down with Jalen Brunson, Jalen at the 1, RJ back at the 2, Cam at the 3, Randall, it's a reality, folks, at the 4, and Mitch at the 5. But after that, like I said, we don't have anything at that 3 for defense. I don't want RJ guarding Tatum's and KD's. That's why I wanted Terry so bad.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If that would be the starting lineup, I would go with, Brunson at the 1, RJ in his more natural spot at the 2. We have Cam. Let's give Cam at least the opportunity to start. Now, I'm a
made the investment. Let him try.
Exactly, right. And then what kind of upset me was you heard Cam. Well, we'll talk about Cam a little bit later. I won't jump the gun.
Okay.
But, I won't show my cards just yet. But just want to ask a quick question, Foxy. Out of these 3 deals, which one would you prefer? SV Nation, I'm asking you as well. I'm going to put this poll.
Door number 2.
Door number 2. So you would agree with me when it comes to this?
Totally. And like you said, it's prudent.
I was shocked. Go ahead.
It's prudent, like you said, with other people. It's as it descends, you would have a little more cash for better players as their time comes up for the bag. So yeah, absolutely, door number 2 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you with the descending. We'll see what SV Nation decides. But when I saw the pseudo max, I'm like, there's no way they can consider this. I mean, look at that number, 29.4 million in year 1, which isn't off of the descending. But now you're going in the opposite direction. So in descending, you were decreasing by 5%. Now in the pseudo max, you're increasing by 5%.
Yeah, I'd walk away from that deal. Yeah,
$34 million for a Jalen Brunson, a guy that I still don't think, I think he's a solid player, but he's still not a needle mover. He'll help some of these guys get better. I'll agree with that. But I don't think he's going to take us from, let's say, where did we finish last year? What were we, 11th?
Yeah. Well,
from the 11th best team in the league to, 11th worst team in the league.
Yeah, we were 37 and 45 last year. Yeah, so 37 and 45. And I was thinking today that maybe Brunson would bring us to a 47 and 35 season. I think that he could win us, be a difference of 10 games with Brunson here.
You think it's that much of a swing?
I think
with no other moves in addition.
I think other moves are definitely, but if Randall, if there's a trend to Randall that his first year he was out of control, everybody wanted to trade him. What did you call that spin move in the paint that drove everybody crazy?
Which one? Beyblade?
No, Randall had this spin move his first year where he was always losing the ball. It drove everybody crazy, but he came back the second year and he had that second team All NBA. Then he came back last year and everybody wanted to get rid of him. So I'm hoping from a trend thing that this year he's definitely going to be a 20-10-5. So if you just look at the lineup, folks, that we just talked about, you got 20 points from Randall. You got 20 points from RJ. You got 16 points from Brunson. You got 8 points from Mitch. That's 65. That's 80 points right there. So That's 65 points right there, and you throw in 15 points from your three or a Fournier or a Cam, that's 80 points. So then you're asking your bench to score another 20, or so you hit 110, 111 points. It's totally attainable, I think. So the thing I like, he will make players around him better, Jalen, and so I won't do the pseudo max. I'll do the descending, and I have no problem walking away and saying, you know what, we're going with IQ, D Rose, and Deuce as our point guards.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to me when it comes to Jalen Brunson is I hope he has a major effect on RJ, because I think RJ is going to be that X factor that's going to decide whether we can become legitimate, contenders trying to get to the second or third round, or if we're going to be one of those teams where we're middle of the road. We're not bad enough to be high enough in the lottery to get difference makers, but we're still competitive enough, at least for a guy like Tibbs to keep his job. And that's someplace I really don't want to be.
It's purgatory. You're
Exactly.
either be good or be bad, but mediocre means mediocre picks. And that's the worst thing you want. And that's why, it was killing us. I wanted Ben Mathurin for the last 2 years, as everybody knows, in the draft shows. And we wanted, a lot of people wanted Jaden Ivey. We wanted elite talent. You just can't do that as mediocre. You got to be bad for a year or two. Look at Golden State, and now they're, they won a championship, and now they have Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Wiseman, all these players. Plus, they had a fantastic draft. They got Ryan Rollins. They got, they got all these other guys. So they're loaded up. All the teams got better. They got better. So we didn't do it in the draft like I wanted. Now I hope they don't do desperation moves. Be prudent. Don't give a pseudo max. If he wants that crazy money, then let him get it someplace else. He can't get it here, and I don't care if we hired his father or not.
You think the Mavs are going to come after us for tampering?
Probably, because that's good business, because they're like saying, hey, if I look in the past, worst case scenario, I won't get anything. Best case scenario, I'll get a number 2 pick or something based on Chicago last year and stuff. And we got number 2 picks up the gazoo. So if I was an owner, like, hey, worst thing they could say is no, but if it works out, I'll get another 2 extra or 2 second rounders out of this deal.
I hear you on that one. Also, I saw a pretty interesting comment. So, Foxy, how did you feel about us? I know you're not a fan of us trading. You really want us to draft somebody and continue to build this roster out through the draft. But as a content creator here on Sports Vibes TV and in your partnership with George over on Into the Knicks verse, how did you feel about us trading out completely and all your draft work kind of being for a moot point at that point?
Well, it ripped my heart out. It literally, because like I said to you, a lot of my friends, it was like, hey, hi, Don Hines. Thank you for your comment and all your support. Hey, I've been doing this since I'm a little guy, writing my draft notes. So I've always loved this part of it. And it bothered me because I looked at the Toronto team of a couple of years ago with Kyle, Norman Powell, Van Vliet, and they added Kawhi. And then, as we talked about, I looked at this year's Memphis team, and especially the Memphis team without Ja. They were 21-6 without Ja, with Tyus Jones. And if you look at, Bane and Brooks and Jackson and Adams and Clark and, Melton, and those are right. But I think, that's the type of team that I want to do. So that's why I said, let's get a Tari Eason in the draft. Let's get a Dalen Terry in the draft. Let's get a Jalen Williams out of Arkansas in the draft. Hey, I wanted to sign and trade Mitch, to be truthful. I wanted and pick Mark Williams out of Duke. He was the only kid in the draft that shot over 70% field goal percentage and 70% from the foul line. Do you want Mitch, even with a 4-year, $60 million contract, shooting foul shots in the last 2 minutes of a game? And all the other things. So he's on the deck like 6-7 times. I know he made it through this year, but every game is a Hail Mary full of grace. I'm lighting a candle that Mitch can make it through the game and through the season. So I would have traded Mitch, actually, if I was a GM this year, and I would have had Mitch, Tari Eason, and a few other guys, and basically brought back the nasty to the Knicks, and we're a really tough defensive team, just like Memphis. And then in 23, we'd still have resources, and then go after that shooting guard, or go after that, or in 23's free agency, go after that one player. Toronto needed that one player. They got the Kawhi. Memphis has Ja, so let us use that type of template for us to build. But they didn't get nasty. They traded out for conditional picks that won't amount to much. So it really, as Don Hines and a few others, it was lunacy to me. They did it last year. We had the 19th pick, and but there was guys, we could have gotten Duarte last year, a sharpshooter and stuff like that. So, and now Indiana has Ben Mathurin, Halliburton, Duarte, Isaiah Jackson. Oh my goodness, and you look around the league, Orlando, everybody, like you said, Houston's, wow, Jalen Green,
Detroit.
Yeah, so Jalen Green now with Jabari, and now you have a Terry as, an enforcer and everything else there. Oh, wow. So I see the distance between us and other teams widening, even with a Jalen. So I think Jalen is a stot, but we needed elite. We're all stocked up on good players and role players. We need elite. We needed a thing of athleticism. And like I said, what do we get? Trevor Keels, a 220-pound guy who's not a point guard and he's not a shooting guard, and he's a good player, but, I would never have picked him. We need length.
All right. So before we move on to another player on the team to discuss, you kind of mentioned briefly, what is probably the biggest area of improvement you expect Brunson to come in here and affect?
Is basically licking off Randall, not coming down. I'm serious that he's got the money and he's got the experience and stuff.
And he got his pops on the coaching staff too.
Exactly. It's not going to be a Peyton come down past midcourt, 2 dribbles, kick it into Randall, and everybody else is all right. There goes the shot clock, and either he makes his shot or he kicks it out for somebody with 4 seconds left on the thing. I think that he'll look him off. I think the whole thing that Tibbs always talks about is not getting a good shot, is getting the best shot. And I think that Jalen can do that. And folks, this is from Cleaning the Glass. And we always talk about, orange, dark orange is phenomenal. It's elite. So the number in orange on the bottom, that was this past season, that's the percentile. So at the rim, he is, let me see up close my old eyes. He is in the 93 percentile, Jalen Brunson, at finishing. He shoots 68% at the rim. He shoots 50% in almost the 90th percentile in all mid-range. So we were 30th in the league in 2-point shooting. So he's going to have a profound effect. And I also see Jalen as a closer. He has a great hezzy. He can make his shot. And also, he can kick it out and stuff. And also, contrary to belief, he's in the 90 percentile for corner 3. So he's an elite corner 3-point shooter. It's just the non-corner 3 where he shoots 32%. So if he picks that up, but he's meaning versus some of the other players, he's a very, very good shooter, man. So it's a good acquisition that way, that we know the guy can finish. He does what Tibbs wants. You have the shooting chart?
The chart? No, I didn't have the chart available.
Oh, okay. But the shooting chart, folks, is the epitome of a Tom Thibodeau team, that it is all in that paint. So he penetrates, he breaks down the defense, and he's able to convert. He has the body that he can play through contact. And if they do converge, he has the smarts to kick it out. And all we have to do is hit those shots. But like you said, and I think shout out to Ian Begley, that some rumors in the Knicks organization is that they don't really feel comfortable with a Jalen Brunson and Fournier backcourt. And they're smart. You're right. Yeah. But you and I said last year, and a few others, like, we want Fournier on that second team. He gets lit up by first team elite players. Let him eat against second team. He's an elite 3-point shooter. We just can't have him on defense against first team guys. So we need shooting still on this team, especially now that Burks is not here. And so let him be on that second team. And like we said earlier, let's cash our thing in and let's see what Cam can do.
Yeah, I don't see why Fournier has to continue to start. Send him to the bench. Let him
Send
eat
him to
off
the
the bench.
bench.
You said it. And elevate Cam. Let Cam be the starter. We invested a first round pick in Cam. We also gave up on Kevin Knox for Cam. So when are we going to, as an organization, start to put Cam in the best situation to succeed?
Yeah, but
Me, it's
he'll
just
have a
what
training
it is.
camp, so there's no excuses. He's going to have a training camp, everything.
We
So he's
hope
going
he's
to
going to have a training camp.
well, hopefully a shoulder and everything, like you said, and he has that injury history. But one way or the other, they're going to have to make a decision and say we made the investment with a one and with a former one being in Knox. Let's see, what he can do. Let's see if he can build. He can be the the Tatum to RJ's Jalen Brown. Oh, I wish, but yeah. So hey, this is a huge year for RJ. This is a huge year. It's number 4. Nobody's talking about, hey, he's 21. I'm not talking age anymore. You're in the league 4 years. He has to be efficient. He has to shoot better from the foul line. He has to shoot better. Hey, thank you. Folks, is Jalen Brunson's shot chart right there. And that is a Tibbs dream right there. The dark orange is the most of his shots. That's exactly what Tibbs wants in a point guard. When we got Kemba last year, you and I looked at each other. Around the 3-point line was dark orange, and it was all white in the paint.
In the
Because
paint.
yeah, he never put. That's not a Tibbs type of guy. So Brunson is absolutely a Tibbs type of guy.
All right, so let's just see what everybody decides or what SB Nation decide when it comes to Brunson and the contract we should offer him. So we've got 56% voting for descending. We've got 36% voting for ascending. And apparently Jalen Brunson's agent must be in the chat because we've got 7% that decided with the pseudo max. God bless. Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but me personally, I think you're tripping if you're about to give Jalen Brunson a pseudo max.
Yeah.
Especially in an economy that's starting to, go down. All right, Foxy. So let's pivot to another person that we expect to be in the starting lineup when the season starts next season, and that's going to be Mitchell Robinson. And we're hearing some conflicting reports. You've got Jake Fisher saying he expects Mitchell Robinson to get a 4-year, $60 million deal. And then you've got Kat saying, expect to see a deal closer to what we saw from Zubac, what we saw Zubac get from the Clippers, which is around 3 years, $33 million. So what would you offer Mitchell Robinson if you were sitting in the front office and had to make that decision?
As we talked about last year, and I thought it was equity that we'd give him Robert Williams contract in the 13 range. Similar numbers. Robert Williams, a few more minutes than him, but yeah, so there's speculation, like you said, they're going to go up to the 15 number to keep him, but yeah, so in the 13 to 15 range, I think they're going to do it just to keep him, and also because of everything else. If we lose Mitch, that front office doesn't want that heat. So they're gonna pay the money because of, and folks, we literally have till 6. We have less than 24 hours. At 6 p.m. tomorrow, he becomes a free agent. We have no more rights, so we can sign. We better sign him before 6 tomorrow.
Oh, before he hits the open market.
Before he hits the open
in
market.
order with the value that Jake Fisher is using, that's with him hitting the market, because we can only go to that 60 million over 4 years if he hits the if he hits the free agent market. Because right now the extension we can give him is, I believe, what, 455. So for him
Something
to get
like
that additional 5 million, he'd have to be on the open market.
Yeah, so we'll see. But like I said, 13 million. That's what Robert Williams has, the Time Lord, and I think that's fair pay for him.
Yeah, Katz was able to mention a few deals that would probably be similar to what Mitchell Robinson is going to get. You have Daniel Gafford, who got 3 years, 40 mil. Wendell Carter Jr., he got 4 years, 50 mil. And, Robert Williams, we mentioned time and time again, he got 4 years and 48 million. So somewhere in that ballpark would have been perfectly fine with me. As I start to look at this deal, though, if we're going to go out there and make a splash for Jalen Brunson, I love Mitch, but at that point, hey, let's make a real big splash. Let's go and try and get somebody like a DeAndre Ayton in a sign and trade, as long as the price is reasonable. Because I don't want to try and give Ayton, Embiid or Jokic numbers. If we can get to like the low 20s, and I'm bringing in a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's a young point guard. I have RJ Barrett. He's my young two. I have a Cam Reddish, who's my young wing. And then add that to a DeAndre Ayton, who shows the ability to offer up that rim protection that's similar to a Mitchell Robinson and has the ability to knock down the mid-range jump shot, can stretch the court a little bit. I mean, me personally, I was against going with Ayton, but if we're gonna go in a process where we're going after a guy like Brunson, I think him paired with Ayton and with some of the young guys on this roster might be a little bit, more might be better for this team moving forward as opposed to re-signing Mitch for the 415 average annual value.
I'm with you. Like I said, I wanted to trade him. I wanted to draft Mark Williams and not have to pay that and have the same basically output. I felt very comfortable. And even if we stuck with Jalen Duran, who we picked and then shipped off to Detroit, he's different than Mark Williams. He's much more athletic and everything, but it'll be a lot more turnovers. He's the youngest kid in the draft, so he's very raw. Mark Williams is a lot more. He's a better Mitch. I think he'll hit Mitch's numbers. Mitch, folks, 8 points, a little over 8 rebounds, less than 1 assist, 48% from the foul line. So that's why I wanted to trade him. It's not like we saw him learn a little jump hook, didn't see post up moves, do a pick and pop, set better screens, be more consistent on his slides, on pick and roll defense. He got burned, wasn't the first season. He got destroyed at the perimeter this year. How many guys had sees, that we said, Zeke Naji, and all these other guys from the perimeter just lighting up Mitch. So I thought he was, I would have traded him. And like I said, he's on the deck 6-7 times a game. He's always on the deck. So it was like, you know what? He made it through this year. Let's do a sign and trade where somebody thinks about him more powerful, and let's get a young gun that we don't have to pay a 4-year, $50 million, a 4-year, $60 million contract. Let's save that money for other things.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Let's see.
I think you have a super chat, my friend.
Yep, we have a super chat. Just want to answer one question real quick. Francisco Gio is asking, guys, what about D Rose? Got some news? The only news I've seen when it comes to D Rose is that he would have been a good, good pitch man to trying to bring in a Jalen Brunson. I heard apparently those two have a good relationship with each other. So I think if we bring in Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose is probably staying, and that kind of gives makes you question what's going to happen at the backup point guard if Rose is still here. Is Quick going to be that backup point guard for us, or is he now going to have to fight with a guy like Grimes to get minutes at the backup too?
And then what about Deuce and Rokas?
Exactly. Well, Rokas, you don't have to worry about too much. He's over there having fun in Spain. But Deuce, I don't know if Deuce is going to sign up for another season playing. And I don't know if they're still going to be playing in Connecticut, but I don't think he'll want to play for the Westchester Knicks next season.
I don't blame him. I hope he lights it up in summer league and puts the Knicks in an awkward situation.
That's a fact. Let's get to this super chat by Marshmallow. See what he has to say. 19 of the last 20 NBA champions started the process by drafting, not trading for a Hall of Fame player. In my eyes, everything we are doing pushes us further from that goal. Honestly, I don't disagree with you. I would have preferred the Knicks to decide to either keep that pick and draft at 11, or me being a cynical mind, I was hoping we would trade back, still keep a pick in the first round, go ahead, be mediocre this season, and then Dolan would say, all right, I'm going to clean house, get everybody out of here, and bring in a new regime, and we'd have even more assets now to go and try and make a move in 2023, which is supposed to be a deep draft. But this front office, they decided to move out of the first round completely, then trade a whole bunch of picks to try and get rid of some dead money. So we do still, quote unquote, have draft capital to move, but I just don't think we have the capital that's going to entice a team to open up that discussion. We got a whole bunch of protected picks. So the route that they're going to try and build around a Jalen Brunson, but I think building through the draft is something that this front office has kind of said we're not going to go ahead and do based on the moves that I'm seeing so far. Because even if you look at what we have in 2023, we have our own pick. I don't know if we're going to be bad enough for that to be of any extreme value. And then a lot of those picks we have are also extremely protected.
And Dallas's pick is going to be probably in the 20s because they'll be a
in the
pretty good
20s,
team.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm with
hopefully we're
you.
helping ourselves out by taking Brunson from him.
Yeah. I don't know if there was any Hall of Famers in this draft, folks. I think there's damn good players. I don't know about Hall of Famers. They got a lot, meaning there's a lot of projects I've never seen, from Jabari Smith, great 3-point shooter, but he can't create his own shot. Paulo was the best player in the draft, but he's a below the rim. He may have issues on the perimeter on defense. Jaden Ivey, 3.6 assists, 2.1 turnovers. That's not really point guard. He didn't have a mid-range game, has a real funky release. So it would have been, painful where we would say, oh, did you see that dunk? And then, and others would say, did you see the 6 turnovers? So there was a lot of things, but that's why I was like, you know what? Let's build. I wanted us to draft 4 people for this team. I wanted, like I said, I wanted to trade Mitch, have Mark Williams, Terry Eason, Dallin Terry, and Jalen Williams of Arkansas. It would have been a tough defensive team that Tibbs would love, and even if we had a mediocre year, then saying all in on 23, man. It's going to be a good draft, but now we have a real core of shutdown guys. We don't have a shutdown guy at the 3. We don't have our version of Mikal Bridges.
We hope Cam can develop into that. I think Cam could develop into something more than that. But front office isn't allowing. Oh, you don't think so, Foxy?
I like Cam's offensive opportunities, just meaning I'm old school DNA wise, that if you're a dog on defense, everybody knows it. It's, your 4th year. If everybody don't know you're a defensive demon by now, then you're never going to be one.
Yeah, so let's talk about Cam Reddish just a little bit. Me personally, I was extremely nervous during the draft because it sounded like Cam was going to be on the move. And I feel like we haven't given Cam the opportunity yet to really evaluate him to make an educated decision as to what he'll be in the league. And I just look at the potential. It's extremely tantalizing just to see what he can do out there on the court. And it doesn't even look like he's trying. So what if we can get him in an environment where we can get him to give 100%? Not to say that he's not giving 100%, but just to look like he's playing with a little bit more pep in his step out there on the court. He seems like a very laid back individual, and that carries over into his play style. So hopefully we can get him a little bit more engaged if we give him the opportunity to start. I think we might see some of that. And when he got traded here, he wanted to be on a team that would give him the opportunity to start and give him a little bit larger role in the offense. And I think if you look at what we're doing, I don't know if that's what we're doing per se, but a guy like Jalen Brunson, I think, is going to find him, especially if he's able to get open off ball. And at times you'll see Cam also go out there and create for himself. So I think if you look at this team, we are getting younger by moving off of the vets, and now we can head into this, the preseason and kind of go in there with a fresh start for Cam. At least he can go and have his first training camp with the new coaching staff. They can actually see what he can do, get a better opportunity to evaluate him, and hopefully he can blossom into, oh snap, I didn't even realize. that will throw me through a loop. But yeah, hopefully we can give Cam an opportunity this season to earn his spot on this team, because I don't think he was given a fair shot last year, especially when he was blocked by some of the vets. And Tibbs has a man crush on Grimes, so Grimes was already going to get the nod over him.
Yeah, but Grimes is a 2. He's 6'3" and change in his bare feet. Cam is prototype, 6'8", over 7-foot wingspan. There's nobody, we have to keep them. We don't have anybody else on this roster like that. And like you said, after the investment, we got to start him. There has to be an edict from the front office to Tibbs. And if you don't like it, Johnny Bryant, you're the new head coach. Thank God he didn't leave. But folks, if this doesn't start off well, I'd pull the trigger real quick. 15 games in, make Johnny Bryant our coach. I would not play with Tibbs. If we look at each other and say the rotations stink, hey, did you see that play from the inbounds play? Did you see the play after a timeout? Did you see the favoritism toward not yanking Randall or any of that crap that Tibbs did last year? Get him out of here quick. and we have
Yeah,
Johnny before somebody else steals him.
yeah. We were at risk of losing him this offseason. Luckily the Utah Jazz decided to go elsewhere. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sold on Johnny Bryant. Honestly, I
I know,
haven't seen
but
enough.
you know what? I'm not. I agree with you, but I am so totally against Tibbs. I'm willing to give Johnny, a young guy, a chance because Tibbs is antiquated to me. His schemes, I don't even know what the hell they do on offense. A couple of pistol plays here, but like I said, just give it ISO Randall's not an offensive scheme. You don't see cutters. You don't see all these other things that other teams do.
You don't see anything about people standing around watching and waiting for the inevitable offensive rebound.
Yeah.
All right. Chili Most 85 says Cam is overrated, highly overrated. I don't think he's overrated. I mean, I think people view him as a prospect still that has the potential to do some great things in the league. I don't think anybody looks at him and says Cam is a bona fide stud, but I think we look at him and say he has the tools to fit. I think JD put it best during the finals. You look at a guy like Andrew Wiggins and what he was able to contribute for a championship team with the Golden State Warriors. Cam can do the same thing. So that's how I view Cam. As
wait a minute though.
Go ahead.
Wiggins was Cam when Tibbs was his coach in Minnesota. He had to get the hell away from Tibbs to go to Golden State and their development team for him to realize his potential on both sides of the ball. So maybe Cam has to go to Golden State to become that player.
Or get away from Tibbs, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Exactly.
We need to get away from Tibbs quick, fast, and in a hurry. But the front office, they have too much of a personal relationship with the guy that they won't do what's best for business. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, and then the fans aren't cool enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to watch the game or go to the game anymore. You got too many people with money that go to the game even if they suck because it's the place to be. But you know where the place to be is?
Sports Vibes TV. You already know.
That's my guy. Yeah.
Yes, it's been a month, but we still got it, right?
You got that
right. All right. Nick Yak says Cam quickly 15 minutes off the bench. I just don't. That would be terrible for the Knicks moving forward. For both,
let him be downgraded to 15 because he didn't do it, but give him the opportunity to start. Let him build up that synergy with RJ. Let him get that that energy and going and everything. And if it doesn't work out, then put him on the bench. But hey, as I said about Begley and stuff, a backcourt of Fournier and Brunson is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, they call that toast. Cam quickly 15 minutes off the bench. Honestly, Cam, I won't say Cam needs 30 minutes every single night, but at least 27.
At least 25 26. Up. Yep.
And same thing with Quick. I don't want to see Quick get 15 minutes off the bench, especially when we saw what he was able to do when he was running the show towards the end of the season. And I know people say, yes, it wasn't against some of the greatest competition in the league, but he still went out there and performed when he had to carry the team and lead as the point guard. So for that, I don't think you should then come back the following season and kind of demote him. Even if you bring in a guy like Brunson, you might demote him in terms of his role, but playing time, it should stay the same. If you want to move him now to becoming the backup tool behind an RJ Barrett, that's fine, but let him continue to get the 22 to 25 minutes so that way he can stay in the flow of the game. He can continue to be that microwave spark for us off the bench, and he can find his shot. I think if you start playing him, 10, 11, 12 minutes like you play at Obi, it's going to be very hard for him to get into rhythm.
Absolutely. I'm with you all the way. And there was a statistic I saw today that he outscored the most fourth quarter points by the Knicks in the last two seasons, quickly with 653, Randall with 600, and RJ Barrett 552. So, fourth quarters, give quickly, like we said, give him a chance. And if you bring in Brunson, that's fine, but still, find a way to bring him in as a microwave scorer and other things. We've seen in the way he gets Obi going, and so let him be Obi's guy on that second team until, hey, the one thing that we haven't touched on is the first thing I talked about is I would have traded this offseason Randall for Russell Westbrook, and then I would have pulled a John Wall and say, you're not playing Russell. It's a 1 year, but we don't. Bench, bro. exactly. But we're going to go with the youth. But we have 1 year and you're gone, rather than having 3 more years after this year with a Randall. I don't know how the front office, the coaching, and especially the fans and the SV Nation can think that there's not going to be another incident over the next year. The next, a bad foul call by a ref, the ball's not going in, that his frustration overcomes him, and he pulls the same routine he did. How many games did you and I watch film where he literally took off plays on defense? Literally.
He took off quarters on defense.
Quarters, yeah. And how do you say, hey, I got to get my emotions under control? That doesn't work for me, man. So the first order of business with me was getting rid of Randall. And if you're saying I want to get back his value, then it's going to be at the mercy, or it's going to be at the cost of the development of the young kids and free agents like Brunson you bring in here.
Yeah, to me, it was nuts for him to sign that contract and be looked at as the leader of this team, and for him to act the way he acted. To me, that was nuts.
Yeah, but once you act that way, don't think that that's never going to happen again. No. He's on good behavior now. Come on, man. We're New York boys. We're Bronx boys and stuff like that. Don't pull that shit.
Bullshit.
We can smell. Don't bullshit a bullshitter,
man. So Nick Yak says Brunson had a better year than Murray. Bring up the stats.
He did.
So sure. You think so?
He did. Brunson. Murray had a really bad year on defense. He shot like shit from three. He did not have the great. And also the one thing, I know this is going to sound weird, folks, as an analyst, I don't like signing guys that had catastrophic leg injuries. He came back from it, but once it's there, I just get worried that in the future, whether the other leg or, he had a significant leg injury earlier in his career and he came back from it, DeJounte. But you know what? I'm glad we didn't get him. Like I said, I'd be all right if we got DeJounte as a point guard, but I would not. Now he's going to play off guard with Trey. You can't shoot. I don't see that. I don't see it, at all. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the stats. So, I mean, you can say DeJounte Murray had a little bit of a down season. But looking at the stats, let me just get that for you guys. I don't know if I'll be able to put it up. Let's see. Yeah, it's not letting me share it.
Well, he shot 46%. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so in 21-22, he averaged 21.1 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 9.2 assists per game, while shooting 46.2% from the field, 32.7% from the three-point line, and he had a PER of 22.3. Now you compare that to a Jalen Brunson who shot 16.3, who scored 16.3 points per game. He averaged 3.9 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game. He shot 50% from the field, 37.3% from the three-point line, and he had a PER of 17.1.
Yeah. So he played a few more minutes per game, DeJounte, than Jalen, but he's a fine player. And one of the things also is the 2 steals a game. On DeJounte, he's with those long arms and everything. He's a fine player, but what you and I and a lot of the SV Nation talked about was we didn't understand, the draft and the trades they made. How they got DeJounte Atlanta? 2 unprotected draft choices. So all those protected draft choices we got, you can't get it. You get you nothing other than a number 20 draft choice that you may like somebody as a project in a future draft. So they were willing to say, you know what, we're going to give unprotected draft choices. And we weren't. So we got all this crap.
And for them, it makes sense to give up unprotected first-round draft picks. They have Trey. They're adding now DeJounte Murray. Still unclear what they're going to do with John Collins, but for now, they still.
I think he's on his way out too. I think there's issues there. Yeah.
I believe he's on his way out, but for now, we'll act as if he's
Mhm.
still on the team.
Oh, for
They
sure.
got Hunter, they've got Capella, so they've got a team in which you don't expect them to be a lottery team anytime soon. So for them to give up unprotected makes sense. You look at the teams we traded with, well, OKC, Detroit, those are guys that are still rebuilding. So they've made sure that they lock down their first round picks because you never know with them. So now we have those type of assets, and if we're gonna try and make a move for a major player, opposing teams are gonna look at that and do the same calculations we're doing. Is Detroit gonna turn things around within the next year or two? Potentially, but I think there's still work to be done over there. They've got to
Yeah,
figure
I
out who
know,
their
but
coach is gonna be. They got to add
yeah,
more talent, I believe. So,
but
do you
like we
see them missing the lottery?
well, let me put it
Soon?
this way: when looking, I always look at the draft not as this year, but in the next 2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
Where they, get a, it's like Jalen Green the last month of the season, the year before Anthony Edwards. They come in raw, and all of a sudden at the end of the season, you see what they're going to be. So you look at Detroit, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, versus the Knicks, Cade Cunningham, whoa, Jaden Ivey, whoa, Jalen Duran, whoa, you have Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, you have Diallo, you have all these other guys there. And, you look at all the other teams that we're talking about, whether Orlando, adding the best player in the draft, Boncaro. They have Isaac coming back. You have Suggs and all these other people at the point guard position. So it's and then like you said, OKC. All these teams have not only got better but more athletic, more elite talent, and our base is going to be Brunson, RJ, and Mitch. So, it's very, very difficult, just keeping it real for us to look at around the league and say, how are we going to compete? Look at Charlotte last year's draft. Everybody's like, get Book Knight. They didn't play. They had Book Knight. They didn't play Book Knight. They had Kai Jones. They didn't play Kai Jones.
Well, to be fair, that coach also got fired for those decisions.
Well, he got fired, but I think any coach, I think Kenny Atkinson turned down the job because any job where you have to coach LaMelo Ball is a nightmare. He's a punk. He's a really talented guy who sees the floor at a different level than anything, but he's a punk. And he's a nightmare for a coach and a nightmare for teammates.
I thought he decided not to take up that job because Jordan was still being cheap. Because as soon as he rejected the job, they said, "Oh, the Hornets don't want to pay
I
Bridges
think
exactly what he wants."
Yeah, I think there was other issues there, and whether Bridges leaves for a free agency, going to a Detroit, adding, because things like that.
Can they still make that deal though, seeing that they took on Chop Liver?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see, but it's interesting. But getting to the point that going around the league is like, we talked about Indiana with Mathurin, Halliburton, Duarte, it's like
they're switching anything over there.
But this is real talent, and RJ, like I said, RJ is a really good player, but he's a 20-point scorer, but highly inefficient. How many times did we say, yeah, he scored 20 points, and when you and I went, yeah, on 19 shots, man, that ain't cool. So, whether from the foul line, whether finishing, 2 years ago, RJ's shot was blocked 87 times. Last year was 105 times, but 2 less games. We've seen that he has no lift in the paint. He has to show this year that he has game. And it's another one that I would not give him the max unless we see a whole different RJ this year.
Yeah, they had I think they spoke with Katz and they kind of talked about what kind of deal RJ would get, and I think he didn't even get more than what we're offering Brunson right now.
Yeah.
Now that would be crazy if you look at RJ, he becomes eligible for an extension, and he ends up signing a deal that's smaller than the one we're discussing now with the Jalen Brunson.
That'd be crazy.
A curious turn of events. That's a fact. Salute to Lex the Destroyer. Says just 21 more likes to get us to 100. Hit that like button. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. See if we can get to that 100 threshold. Let's see. I think somebody was discussing trading Julius Randle. I still don't understand why that's when we're not even hearing rumors about it. It's like he's one of the untouchables along with RJ.
I don't know. They must have pictures of some. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you could keep him, man. I don't know how you can keep him after he was a saboteur last year. Smacking, Fournier smacking laptops of assistant coaches. Screaming on every call. That's detrimental to a team, man. And it's all right for fans to say, if you said to us, we thought he was the man, but we realized that we need to go in a different direction. We would respect that. Nobody hits 1,000, bats 1,000, but to perpetuate a problem perpetuate a problem with a young team where you're trying to develop, you get bad habits from people seeing people get away with stuff like that.
Thanks. I see Juan Sinclair says Mitchell Robinson might get that 4-year, $60 million deal. What do you think? I mean, if he ends up hitting the open market and gets that, then I mean, something must have went wrong, because I don't see another team that's going to really step in and bid us up to 4 years, 60 mil. I think the teams that have been linked to Mitchell Robinson, they've been linked via the mid-level exception. And I think
exactly.
That's
they don't have
mil.
they don't have the cash. Other teams like everybody's used up their money. And like you said, Ayton Mitchell. Ayton's gonna win every time if there's no,
unless you're paying Mitch 12 mil. And if you're paying 12 mil, all right, I'll sign up for it. But you're talking 15, 16, 17 mil for Mitch, then I'd have to entertain DeAndre Ayton sign and trade, at least see what those terms are like.
Yeah, pick and pop. He does other things, man. And people forget, if you didn't have Giannis making this incredible block a couple of years ago in the playoffs on Ayton, they could have been the champion Suns.
Mm-hmm. Facts. And then I think someone also mentioned it in chat that we'll probably see a lot more pick and roll with Brunson as the point guard. So to have him and Ayton in a nice little pick and roll tandem, I think that would have been a nice thing to focus on offensively.
But I think we can, if Mitch is here, I think that's a natural. I think we saw RJ was the only one that got him involved. So if you have RJ and a Brunson now, that I think you and I saw maybe 2 plays last year where Randall made a pass to Mitch. So Brunson.
And even if it is a pass to Mitch, it's one of those underhand passes under the rim, because that's where they're both camping.
That or by his knees, and he has to reach down, and you're like, exactly. Man, you don't give big guys passes on their knees.
I'm telling you, I do not miss watching games from last season. There was a whole bunch of dysfunction out there on the court. I need a palate cleanser for next season. Hopefully, I'll go down to Summer League and see some better brand of basketball. It might be a little sloppier brand of basketball, but more exciting, and we'll get to really evaluate some of the young guys.
And you may need some northern lights with that. Yo,
I'm excited to see who'll be on the summer team. I'm sure Kills will be there, Montero,
Deuce,
Sims,
Grimes
will go.
Yeah.
Even
I'm hoping, because of you, he's been on my mind all off season about that knee, whether it's, that type of injury comes back. So I don't know if he's wearing, if he's going to wear a brace this year and stuff like that. But I'm hoping that he took another step. I didn't want us to get Johnny Davis personally. I just felt that the distance between Johnny Davis and Grimes wasn't that big enough for us to bring in another guy at the same size as Grimes. I don't think Johnny's going to be a better defense. He's a better defense. He's a good defensive player, but I don't think he's a better defensive player than Grimes. He's not a better 3-point shooter. But if Grimes can get better handle, and so he can have that separation and get a little midi game and finishing game, I think he'll endear himself to the Knicks fans even more this year.
Yeah, he's been working on it, so hopefully he can develop that side of it.
Oh, he's a dog. He wants it. He wants it, man. And I like that about him.
Somebody said Mo Bamba and Brunson, we got to do better. And I hope we're not doing Brunson and Mo Bamba. To have
it's a really good shot we get. I don't know about starting, but he may be that backup center where they may not feel.
I can live with it.
Oh, yeah. He's a stretch 5. We've talked about a stretch 5. You and I talked about Bobby Portis today declining his offer. I think they can offer him 4-year, $49 million, though. Of course, early bird rights. So I don't want to pay him that amount either. So, but if we can get Bobby,
I know he's an important piece, but that's a steep price for Bobby Portis.
I know, but he's an elite 3-point shooter. He's literally a top 5 3-point shooter in the league. People don't realize, when we gave him up, that was a guy we should have kept. Get rid of Mook a few years ago, but we should have kept Bobby. I love Arkansas boys. They're real dogs.
Soul Train 68 says just say no to Taj. Yeah, I mean, if we can free up more cap space if we get rid of Taj, I'm all for it. I think Taj should transition to coaching now.
He
Put
should
him in a
transition to
polo,
coaching,
sit him
but you
behind the
know
bench.
what? Don't be surprised with that. You know, he comes back later this year. I know it's lunacy, but yeah, he should be a coach, man. Absolutely.
You bring Taj back and watch him siphon off Sims minutes. I mean, I'm really interested though. If we end up, everybody's worried about us fumbling uh, Brunson and trading all the assets to free the cap space and not actually getting him. But what are we going to do if we miss out on Mitch? You just mentioned Bamba. He's not. You don't view him as a starting caliber center.
And also injury prone. Mobamba.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he is a shot blocker. He is a stretch guy. If he can stay healthy, yeah. But I don't look at him as a starter. Actually, I look at him as a really good.
Where would the Knicks pivot? That's why I don't understand why they allowed this to get to this point right here. Because if somebody blows Mitch out the water, what's our plan B? Do we have
Kevon Looney? Throw the bag at Kevon Looney. Oh my God.
Kevon Looney is Kevon Looney because he's out there playing with
Draymond,
Steph, Draymond, Clay. You know, we bring Kevon Looney over here. He's gonna look like Jerome James.
Word. Yeah, maybe even Ronaldo Bachman while you're at it, but yeah. Shoot. So that's why I'm saying, folks, we love our Knicks. We always have, but we got to keep it real about the talent around the league and what just transpired at the draft. They made a huge boo-boo, you know, and now they're putting all their eggs in one basket with a guy that's a good player, but he's not, you know, he's not a game changer.
Facts. Also want to give a shout out to Jesco. Believe he hit me up on IG just to make sure everything was good. We had a nice conversation about what the Knicks have been doing through free agency and, well, not in free agency yet, but heading into free agency and the NBA draft. Make sure you check out the channel on IG at Sports Vibes TV. You can send me a DM and I'm always here to respond. So Jesco, appreciate you pulling up and tuning into the live stream. Let's see. Keith Turner says Brunson, RJ, Cam, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson is a playoff team, hands down. Yes,
we agree. But we just don't know exactly. I just don't know if they can get past the first round. We haven't won a series.
Yeah, a deep draft.
But what is it? 22 years that we haven't won a playoff series.
We won a playoff series with Melo.
Yeah, but how long? I thought it was 22 years. SV Nation. I thought I just saw that stat a week or so ago. It was 22 years since the Knicks won a playoff series.
Let me see. Let me Google that.
Hey, we see my friend George into the Knicks first, folks.
Hey, salute George.
Yo. UBG, this team won't do anything. Well, I think they'll be a better team than last year if we get Brunson. And you know what? We may be a better team if we don't get Brunson. Like, you know, and our friend George has done some great analytics about IQ, and should have gave that kid a chance, man.
Yeah. So we went to the semis in 2013.
Okay.
So we won one round. All right. Let's see what else.
So one round in 22 years then?
Yeah, that looks like it's the stat. One round. The last time we won was the Eastern Conference Finals, where we went to in 2000. So yeah, we won one round in the last 22 seasons.
Wow. Yeah, that take your breath away, man.
All right, well, you heard the stat here. Let's see what else we got before we log off. Who else? UBG says there's going to be tons of excuses of why this team can't make a dent next season.
No excuses. The excuse is the front office not drafting elite players, and like an earlier, a comment from the chat about saying if you look at the champions, how organically they built their teams, man. You know, you can't. You know, Grimes was a 25th pick. Deuce was a 36th pick. You know, all these guys, there's a reason why. We have to get some elite talent. And like you said earlier, Keith, if we stay in mediocrity, that's the worst thing you can do in basketball or any sport, but basketball. You're better off having a couple of bad years, retooling, and then and having a good team for the next 5 or 10 years.
I mean, look what the Pacers did. They moved off of Sabonis. They decided to embrace a legitimate rebuild, and now look what they've got in their starting lineup. They've got Halliburton, they've got Duarte, and they've got Mathurin. That's something Knicks fans, I think most Knicks fans would give anything for that right now,
Oh my
as opposed to
goodness.
a
Yeah.
Brunson, Julius Randle nucleus.
It was funny because I thought to myself when I heard about DeJounte Murray with the Hawks, I said, you know what? I think Halliburton would have been a better match with Trey because of his shooting, Halliburton, than DeJounte and his defense. So he has all the same attributes defensively and size wise as DeJounte, but he's a much better shooter.
There's a lot of similarities between those two.
Yeah, especially visually too. That built.
I wonder. I'm going to look back at Halliburton's draft profile and see if anybody said he was gave him a comparison to DeJounte Murray. Let's see. All right. So Fox, anything before we sign off?
That 221 people in the chat. We really, really appreciate seeing you. It's been a while. We've missed you. We have 105 likes, so do me a favor. If you haven't hit that like, hit that like. If you haven't hit that subscribe, hit that subscribe. If you have hit that subscribe, please tell your friends. Please hit that all reminder bell so you don't miss out. Please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And also a shout out to the best mods on the planet, Lex the Destroyer, John Talento, and others. I don't know who have dropped by today, but I think those are our two mods, and we appreciate all you do.
Yep. Thank you guys for everything. We appreciate it. There was, very short notice. We just popped up, and you guys still, showed up and supported the live stream. So I greatly appreciate it, Foxy. Thank you for co-hosting with me. I greatly appreciate you joining us as well.
What about tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll be going live as well, talking about free agency. Hopefully the Knicks actually do something unlike the NBA draft and make some noise outside of just this Jalen Brunson signing, because I need to see some other moves. Just going out there and bringing in Jalen Brunson, I don't think moves the needle much for me. SV Nation, I think I can speak on your behalf and say it doesn't move the needle much for you guys as well. Foxy, you doesn't move the needle, right?
Oh, man.
So we need to see something happen. This team
just the middle needle. The middle needle to the front office. I'm tired of this shit, man.
Yeah, man. This team, it seems like Jalen Brunson is the way that they decided to go, but we need some other moves. We need to continue to build out this team. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Keith, your host. That's our co-host, Stephen Fox. We'll be back again tomorrow. No time. It's TBD for now, but hopefully some news pops up and will pop up as well. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out.
Love you.